173 million, and you sold me for a glass of wine.
The champagne tasted like battery acid, but I kept drinking it anyway. Standing in the corner of the Harlan Biotech conference room, watching my wife Lila hold court with her boss Victor and his circle of sycophants, I felt like a ghost at my own funeral. "Oh, Mac's little engineering hobby?" Lila's voice carried across the room, sharp and cutting. "Victor, maybe you could give him a job parking cars when that workshop of his finally tanks." The laughter that followed hit me like a slap. 23 people in expensive suits, all chuckling at my expense. I counted them. When you're being humiliated, you notice details like that. My name is Evan McCarthy, but everyone calls me Mac. I'm 38, 6'2", with calloused hands and a face that seemed too many late nights hunched over circuit boards. I build things. I solve problems. I used to think that mattered. Victor Harlan, 52 years old and worth more money than God, draped his arm around my wife's shoulders. "Mac, buddy, no shame in admitting defeat. The tech world's brutal. Maybe it's time to be practical." I set down my champagne flute with deliberate care. "Practical? You know what I mean." Victor's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Lila here is making partners soon. She doesn't need the stress of wondering if you can pay your half of the mortgage." Room went quiet. Even the background jazz seemed to pause. Lila's face flushed red, but not from embarrassment, from anger. At me. For existing. "Mac, don't make a scene," she hissed. But I wasn't making a scene. I was just standing there, holding my empty glass, watching my marriage dissolve in real time. Someone's phone was out, recording. Great. My humiliation would be on social media before dessert. "You're right, Victor," I said finally. "I should be more practical." I walked out. Behind me, the conversation resumed, louder now, more animated. They were already moving on, forgetting I existed. The parking garage was cold and echoing. I found my beat-up Ford pickup between Victor's Maserati and Lila's BMW. Both cars gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Both cars cost more than most people make in 2 years. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, engine off, just thinking. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Going to Victor's for drinks with the team. Don't wait up. Don't wait up." Like I was the family dog. That's when I started laughing. Not happy laughter, the kind that comes when you realize you've been playing a game where everyone else knew the rules except you. See, here's what Victor and Lila and all those champagne-sipping jackals didn't know. 3 weeks ago, I sold my patent for a revolutionary biomedical sensor to MedTech Industries for $173 million. The contract was sitting in my lawyer's safe, along with the non-disclosure agreement that kept me from announcing it until the deal closed next month. My failing business? I'd just created the biggest breakthrough in non-invasive cardiac monitoring in 20 years. The prototype in my pathetic little workshop was going to save thousands of lives and make me richer than Victor could ever dream of being. But I hadn't told Lila. I'd wanted to surprise her. Wanted to see her face when I proved all her doubts wrong. Now, I was glad I'd kept my mouth shut. I drove home through the empty streets, past the coffee shops and boutiques where Lila spent her weekends with her lawyer friends, past the country club where she played tennis every Thursday, past the life we'd built together over 12 years of marriage. Our house was dark, colonial style, 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage. Everything Lila had insisted we needed to look successful. I'd bought it for her, stretched our budget thin, because she said appearances mattered in her profession. I parked in the driveway and sat there for another 10 minutes, looking at the house, really looking at it. When was the last time Lila and I had eaten dinner together? When was the last time she'd asked about my work? Really asked. Not just made polite conversation while checking her phone. When was the last time she'd looked at me like I was something other than an embarrassment she had to manage? My phone rang. Paulie Rossi, my lawyer, and the closest thing I had to a best friend. "Mac, you sound like heck," he said without preamble. Paulie never bothered with small talk. "Just had an interesting evening." "The biotech thing? How'd Lila take the news about the patent?" "Didn't tell her." Silence, then, "Jesus, Mac, what happened?" I told him about the party, about Victor's arm around my wife. about the laughter and the recording and the text message. Polly listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. "So what do you want to do?" he asked when I finished. "I want to be practical," I said. "That doesn't sound like you." "Next, it's time I learned." We hung up. I went inside, poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon, and sat in my home office, surrounded by the patents and prototypes and awards that Lila never bothered to look at anymore. That's when I found the email. Lila had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter, Gmail still logged in. I wasn't snooping. The screen was right there, glowing in the dark kitchen. But what I saw made me set down my bourbon and read closer. "Victor, tonight was incredible. Max suspects nothing. After your presentation next week, we can start making plans. Can't wait to be done with this charade. L." That was from 2 hours ago. While I was driving home, she was writing love letters to her boss. I scrolled up, found more emails. Weeks of them. Months. Mac's business is a joke, but he's too stubborn to admit it. You're right. I need to start protecting myself financially. He actually thinks he's going to revolutionize medical technology. It's embarrassing. The sooner we can be together openly, the better. I'm tired of pretending to respect him. I read every single email, 47 messages spanning 6 months, a complete record of my wife's affair, and her plans to divorce me once Victor's next business deal went through. They thought I was broke. They thought I was a failure. They thought I was pathetic. They had no idea what they'd just unleashed. I closed the laptop, finished my bourbon, and went upstairs to bed. But I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening for Lila's car in the driveway. She came home at 3:15 in the morning. I heard her heels on the hardwood, heard her stumble slightly, drunk on victory and champagne and Victor's promises. She slipped into bed beside me, smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. "Mac," she whispered. "You awake?" I didn't answer. Let her think I was sleeping. Let her think I was the same oblivious fool who'd walked out of that conference room. But I wasn't sleeping. I was planning. The next morning, Lila was gone before I woke up. No note, no coffee made, just the lingering scent of her perfume and the sound of her BMW pulling out of the driveway at 7:30. I made my own coffee, strong and black, and sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She'd left it again, careless. Or maybe she wanted me to find out. Maybe this was her way of forcing the conversation she was too cowardly to start. More emails had come in overnight. Victor, planning their weekend getaway to his lake house. Lila, complaining about having to pretend everything's normal with me. Both of them discussing my inevitable breakdown when my business finally collapsed. If they only knew. I called Paulie at 8:15. He answered on the first ring, already at his office downtown. Paulie Rossi was the kind of lawyer who arrived before the cleaning crew and left after the security guards. 5'8", built like a fire hydrant, with the kind of street smarts you don't learn in law school. "Tell me you didn't do anything stupid last night," he said. "Define stupid." "Mac, relax. I found something interesting, though. How quickly can you draw up divorce papers?" Silence. Then, "Jesus Christ, you found out about the affair. You knew?" I suspected. Lila's been asking around about asset division, prenups, community property, subtle as a brick through a window. Paulie's voice was grim. "How bad is it?" 6 months of emails. Love letters, financial planning, exit strategies. They think I'm broke, Paulie. They're planning their whole future around the idea that I'm a failure. And they don't know about medtech. Not a clue. I could hear Paulie thinking, the way he did when he was working out a complex case. "Mac, listen to me carefully. Don't confront her. Don't let on that you know. We need time to prepare." "Prepare for what?" "War." I drove to my workshop after we hung up, taking the long way through downtown. The building was nothing special. A converted warehouse in the industrial district, with my company name painted on a small sign by the door. McCarthy Engineering Solutions. Lila always said it sounded like a plumbing company. Inside, my team was already at work. 4 engineers, 2 technicians, and a secretary who doubled as our bookkeeper. Good people, all of them. People who believed in what we were building. "Morning, Mac," called out Jenny Chen, my lead engineer. "How was the fancy party last night?" "Missiles. Educational." Jesus was 29, MIT graduate. Brilliant mind for circuit design. She'd turned down offers from Apple and Google to work in my converted warehouse, and I'd never asked her why. Some people just preferred building things to managing stock options. "The MedTech prototypes are ready for final testing," she said, holding up a device no bigger than a smartphone. "This little guy is going to change everything." She was right. The sensor could detect cardiac abnormalities with 97% accuracy, completely non-invasive, at a fraction of the cost of traditional monitoring equipment. Hospitals worldwide would be lining up to buy them. "Any word on when we can announce?" asked Tom Bradley, my senior technician. "Soon," I said. "Very soon." I spent the morning reviewing technical specifications and patent documentation, but my mind kept drifting to Lila's emails. The casual cruelty of her words, the way she discussed our marriage like a business problem to be solved. At lunch, I drove to Mahoney's, a dive bar near the courthouse where Paulie liked to meet clients. He was already there, nursing a coffee and spreading legal documents across a sticky table. "Divorce papers?" I asked, sliding into the booth across from him. "Among other things." Paulie's expression was serious. "Mac, I've been thinking about this all morning. If we play this right, we can destroy them both. Legally, ethically, completely. I'm listening. Lila's planning to divorce you, right? She thinks you're broke, so she figures she'll get half of nothing, maybe some alimony. But here's what she doesn't know. In Massachusetts, if I can prove adultery, she gets nothing. Zero. And if I can prove she's been sabotaging your business relationships or interfering with your work, she has been. I thought about the clients who'd suddenly gone cold, the investors who'd stopped returning calls. She's been telling people I'm unreliable, that my company's failing. Tortious interference. We can sue her for damages. And her boyfriend. Paulie spread out more papers. Financial records, business correspondence, patent filings. But here's the beautiful part. They don't know about MedTech. When that deal closes, you'll be worth more than Victor Harlan. The look on their faces. It's not about the money, Paulie. Unreliable. The heck it isn't. It's about respect. It's about showing them that they picked the wrong guy to screw over. His eyes were hard. "Mac, I've known you for 15 years. You're the smartest guy I know, and the most decent. But sometimes decent doesn't win. Sometimes you have to fight dirty." "What did you have in mind?" Unleashed. Paulie smiled, and for a moment, I understood why opposing lawyers were afraid of him. "We're going to give them exactly what they want. We're going to let them think they're winning, right up until the moment we destroy them." Shameful. I did something I'd never done before. I hired a private investigator. Not for surveillance or anything dramatic, just for background research. Public records, business filings, social media analysis. I wanted to know everything about Victor Harlan that wasn't already public knowledge. The investigator, a retired cop named Murphy, called me back 3 hours later. "Your boy Victor's got some interesting skeletons," he said. 3 harassment settlements in the past 5 years, all sealed. A bankruptcy in Nevada that he's never disclosed to his current investors. And get this, his big presentation next week, the one your wife mentioned in her emails, it's based on technology he doesn't actually own. Patent disputes, licensing issues, the whole thing's a house of cards. "How do you know all this?" "I know people who know people. Point is, this guy's not as bulletproof as he pretends to be." I thanked Murphy and hung up. Then I sat in my office, looking out at my team working on projects that would change the world. And I made a decision. Lila came home that night at 9:30, claiming she'd been working late on a case. She was cheerful, almost giddy, humming while she made herself a salad. "How was your day?" she asked, not really listening for an answer. "Same as always. Working on projects that'll never amount to anything." She looked up, surprised by the bitterness in my voice. For a moment, I thought she might actually ask what was wrong. Instead, she just nodded sympathetically. "Maybe it's time to consider other options," she said carefully. "There's no shame in admitting when something isn't working out. You're probably right." That seemed to please her. She ate her salad while scrolling through her phone, occasionally smiling at messages I couldn't see. After dinner, she went upstairs to read case files, which I now knew meant writing emails to Victor. I stayed downstairs, ostensibly watching television, actually planning my next move. At 11 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Jenny. Don't ask how I got your personal number. Meet me at the workshop tomorrow at 6 a.m. Come alone. Trust me." Minimized. I stared at the message for a long time. Jenny Chen, my lead engineer, the woman who'd turned down Silicon Valley to work in my warehouse. What could she possibly want that couldn't wait until normal business hours? Upstairs, I could hear Lila on the phone, her voice low and intimate. She was talking to Victor, probably making plans for their weekend getaway, making plans for their future together. She had no idea that her future was about to change dramatically. I set my alarm for 5:30 and went to bed, but sleep didn't come easily. I lay there thinking about Jenny's mysterious message, about Polly's legal strategies, about the look on Victor's face when he realized who he'd been underestimating. Tomorrow, the real game would begin. Jenny was waiting for me when I arrived at the workshop, sitting in her car in the empty parking lot. The sun wasn't up yet, and the industrial district was dead quiet except for the distant hum of highway traffic. She got out when she saw my headlights, clutching a manila folder against her chest. Even in the dim light, I could see she was nervous. "Thanks for coming," she said as I unlocked the building. "I wasn't sure you'd show up." "You've got my attention. What's this about?" Inspection. Spread the contents of her folder across my desk. Documents, photographs, printouts of email conversations. My blood went cold as I recognized the letterhead. Harlan Biotech. "Jenny, what the heck is this?" Forging. "Victor Harlan's been trying to recruit me for 3 months, she said quietly. At first I thought it was just normal headhunting. Better salary, stock options, all the usual stuff. But then he started asking specific questions about our projects, about the cardiac sensor patent, about your financial situation. I picked up one of the printed emails. Victor to Jenny, dated 2 weeks ago. As we discussed, McCarthy's operation is unsustainable. When it inevitably collapses, I'd hate to see talent like yours go to waste. I can offer you a position with significant equity participation, plus a signing bonus that reflects the value of any proprietary knowledge you might bring with you." "He's trying to poach you," I said. "He's trying to steal our technology. Look at this." She showed me another email, this one from Lila to Victor. "Mac's too trusting with his employees. The Asian girl seems ambitious. She might be willing to make a deal if the price is right." I felt something cold and sharp twist in my stomach. She gave him your name. She gave him everything. Employee records, project timelines, patent filing dates. "Mac, they've been planning this for months. They're going to wait until you're forced to sell. Then Victor swoops in with a lowball offer. And if you refuse, he'll have inside information about all our projects, courtesy of whatever employee he manages to flip." I sat down heavily. "Jesus, Jenny, why are you telling me this? He's offering you a fortune." She looked at me like I'd just asked why water was wet. "Because you gave me a chance when nobody else would. Because you're building something that matters. And because Lila's email pissed me off." "The Asian girl?" "Other things." Jenny's expression was hard. "I don't like being reduced to a stereotype by some lawyer who's never built anything more complex than a legal brief." I studied the documents for several minutes, my mind racing. This changed everything. Lila wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively sabotaging my business, feeding confidential information to Victor so he could destroy my company and steal my technology. "There's more," Jenny said quietly. "Victor's presentation next week? The one that's supposed to make him the golden boy of biotech? It's based on our preliminary research. Research that Lila photographed during one of her visits to the workshop last month." "She was here last month?" "You were at the patent office. She said she was picking up some papers you'd forgotten. I thought it was sweet, actually. Your wife taking an interest in your work." Jenny's laugh was bitter. I even gave her a tour, showed her the prototypes. God, I'm an idiot. "That's no," I said firmly. "You're not. You trusted the wrong people. but that doesn't make you an idiot. And pulled out my phone 7 a.m., but he answered on the second ring. Please tell me you have good news, he said. Better than good. Can you meet us at the workshop? Bring your camera and whatever recording equipment you have. We're going to need documentation. Us? Chen, my lead engineer. Turns out she's been getting a masterclass in corporate espionage, courtesy of my wife and her boyfriend. Arrived 20 minutes later with a briefcase full of recording equipment and the kind of predatory smile that made opposing counsel nervous. He listened to Jenny's story, examined the documents, and asked detailed questions about Victor's recruitment attempts. This is beautiful, he said finally. Corporate espionage, theft of trade secrets, tortious interference, breach of fiduciary duty. Mac, they've handed us enough ammunition to destroy them both. What do you need from me? Jenny asked. Keep playing along. String Victor along. Make him think you're interested. Get him to put his offers in writing. Get him to be specific about what information he wants. And if he asks you to actually steal anything, I record the conversation. Exactly. Polly turned to me. Mac, how long until the MedTech deal closes? 2 weeks. Perfect. That gives us time to build an airtight case. When we're ready, we hit them with everything at once. Divorce papers, criminal referrals, civil lawsuits, patent infringement claims. They won't know what hit them. After Polly left, Jenny and I spent the morning documenting everything we could think of. Every time Lila had visited the workshop, every question Victor had asked, every piece of technology he'd shown interest in. We printed emails, made copies of documents, and created a timeline of their activities. Mac, Jenny said around noon, there's something else you should know. Tom and Dave have been getting calls too. Nothing as direct as what Victor offered me, but other companies suddenly showing interest in our people. I think word's gotten out that McCarthy Engineering is vulnerable. Or someone's been spreading that word. I thought about Lila's recent behavior, the way she'd been so encouraging about my considering other options. How many people had she told that my business was failing? How many potential clients had she steered away with casual comments about my unreliability? That afternoon, I did something that went against every instinct I had. I called Victor Harlan directly. Mac! His voice was hearty, false friendly. Good to hear from you. How are things? Not great, actually. I wanted to apologize for last night. I was embarrassed and I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. Hey, no worries. We've all been there. The important thing is knowing when to pivot, right? Right. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I've been thinking about what you said, about being practical. Maybe it's time I admitted that I'm in over my head. Silence. I could practically hear Victor's wheels turning. Well, he said carefully, if you ever want to talk about options, I'm here. No pressure. Just one entrepreneur to another. I might take you up on that. Lila says you're brilliant at seeing the big picture. Lila's very kind. She's also very smart. You should listen to her. We chatted for a few more minutes, Victor probing gently about my financial situation, my employee retention, my patent portfolio. I gave him just enough information to keep him interested, while being careful not to reveal anything that wasn't already public knowledge. When I hung up, I felt dirty, but I also felt something else. Power. For the first time in months, I was the one controlling the conversation. That evening, Lila came home in an excellent mood. She'd obviously talked to Victor about my phone call, and she was practically glowing with anticipation. How was your day? She asked, and for once she seemed genuinely interested in the answer. Enlightening, I said. I had a good conversation with Victor. You were right about him. He really understands business in a way that I don't. I'm glad you're finally seeing that. She sat down next to me on the couch, closer than she'd been in months. Mac, I know this is hard for you, but sometimes admitting defeat is actually a victory. It means you're mature enough to recognize reality. That what this is? Reality? The reality is that you're brilliant at engineering, but business is different. It requires different skills, different connections. There's no shame in letting someone else handle that side of things. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. She was beautiful, successful, articulate. She was also a stranger. When did she become someone who could sit there and manipulate me with such casual expertise? You're probably right, I said. Maybe it's time to make some changes. She smiled and squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you for being so mature about this. Later that night, after she'd gone upstairs to prepare for court tomorrow, more emails to Victor, no doubt, I sat in my office and made a list of everyone who'd wronged me over the past 6 months. Clients who'd suddenly gone cold, investors who'd stopped returning calls, colleagues who'd started treating me like a failure. How many of them had gotten their information from Lila? How many had been poisoned against me by my own wife? I was about to find out. Victor's big presentation was scheduled for Friday morning at the Marriott downtown. According to the emails Jenny had forwarded me, it was supposed to be his coronation. The moment he unveiled his revolutionary biomedical technology to a room full of investors and industry leaders. Technology that was 90% stolen from my research. I arrived at the hotel at 8:30, dressed in my best suit and carrying a leather portfolio that Lila had bought me for our anniversary 3 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. The presentation was in the grand ballroom, and the crowd was impressive. 200 people, maybe more. Venture capitalists, hospital administrators, medical device executives, journalists from the trade publications. Victor had pulled out all the stops. I found a seat in the back and waited. Victor took the stage at 9 sharp, looking confident and polished in his $1,000 suit. His presentation slides were professional, his delivery smooth and practiced, and his technology demonstration was flawless, because it was based on 18 months of my team's research and development. The future of cardiac monitoring is here, he announced, holding up a device that looked remarkably similar to our prototype. Non-invasive, accurate, affordable. This technology will save thousands of lives and revolutionize how we approach preventive cardiology. The audience was impressed. I watched faces around the room, saw the excitement, the dollar signs in their eyes. Victor was giving the performance of his lifetime. That's when I stood up. "Excuse me," I called out, loud enough for the whole room to hear. "I have a question about your patent filings." Victor's smile flickered for just a moment. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Evan McCarthy, McCarthy Engineering Solutions. I'm curious about the intellectual property behind this technology. When did you file the original patents?" The room had gone quiet. Victor's presentation slides were still glowing on the screen behind him, showing technical specifications that I'd developed in my workshop. "Mr. McCarthy, this isn't really the appropriate forum for patent discussions. Perhaps we could talk afterward." "Oh, I think it's very appropriate." I walked down the aisle, every eye in the room following me. "See, the technology you're demonstrating looks remarkably similar to patents I filed 14 months ago. Same sensor array, same signal processing algorithms, same diagnostic protocols." Victor's face was turning red. "That's a serious accusation." "Yes, it is." I reached the front of the room and turned to face the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Evan McCarthy. 3 weeks ago, I sold the patents for this exact technology to MedTech Industries for $173 million. Invoked. The room erupted. Conversations, shouted questions, the sound of phones being pulled out to fact-check my claim. Victor stood frozen at the podium, his confident presentation completely derailed. "That's impossible," he said, but his voice was weak. "Is it?" I pulled out my phone and called Polly, putting it on speaker. "Polly, can you confirm the MedTech deal for everyone here?" "Mayor? Mac? Yeah, the deal closed yesterday. Congratulations on becoming the richest guy in Massachusetts. Why are you calling me from what sounds like a circus?" I hung up and looked at Victor. "Would you like to explain to these nice people how you developed technology that I've owned the patents to for over a year?" Victor tried to recover, started talking about parallel development and coincidental similarities, but the damage was done. The audience was buzzing with confusion and suspicion. Several people were already heading for the exits. "There's more," I announced. "Mr. Harlan obtained this technology through corporate espionage. He's been using an intermediary to steal my research, compromise my employees, and sabotage my business relationships. I have documentation of everything." That's when I saw her, Lila, standing near the side exit, her face white with shock. She'd come to watch Victor's triumph, and instead, She was witnessing his complete destruction. Our eyes met across the room. In that moment, she knew that I knew everything. She ran. I followed her out into the hotel lobby, past the confused investors and angry journalists. She was heading for the parking garage, moving fast in her heels and business suit. "Lila, wait!" She stopped but didn't turn around. "How long have you known? About the affair? 6 days. About the corporate espionage? 3 days. About the fact that you've been systematically destroying my reputation and my business for the past 6 months? As of this morning, I have a complete timeline. Mac, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you gave Victor confidential information about my patents? Can you explain why you've been telling potential clients that I'm unreliable? Can you explain why you've been planning to divorce me while simultaneously trying to destroy the business that would have made us both wealthy beyond our wildest dreams? You don't understand. Victor said what? That I was a failure? That my technology was worthless? That you deserved better than a husband who builds things instead of managing stock portfolios? Lila's composure finally cracked. Yes! All of that. Mac, you've been living in a fantasy world for years, thinking you're going to revolutionize medicine with your little gadgets. I was tired of pretending to believe in your delusions. My delusions just sold for $173 million. That's impossible. Repaint. Call MedTech. Call the patent office. Call anyone you want. It's all public record as of yesterday. Out her phone with shaking hands, watched her face change as she realized I was telling the truth. The color drained from her cheeks, and for a moment, I thought she might faint. "Oh God," she whispered. "Mac, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. If I had known, you would have what? Stayed married to me for the money? Pretended to respect me because I'm rich now? That's not, Shirts, that's exactly what you mean." I felt something cold and final settle in my chest. "Lila, you didn't just cheat on me. You tried to destroy me. You gave my competitors information that could have ruined my company. You sabotaged relationships that took me years to build. You did everything you could to make your prediction of my failure come true. Victor said he could help you. He said if your business failed, he'd give you a job and we'd all be better off. He was planning to steal my technology and hire me as an employee in my own laboratory. And you helped him do it." Millions started crying then. The kind of ugly, desperate crying that comes when you realize you've made an irreversible mistake. But I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no desire to comfort her. "Mac, please. We can work this out. I'll end things with Victor. We can start over." "No," I said quietly. "We can't." I walked away, leaving her crying in the hotel lobby. Behind me, I could hear the chaos continuing in the ballroom as Victor's presentation completely collapsed. Investors demanding answers, journalists smelling scandal, security trying to restore order. But I wasn't thinking about Victor anymore. I was thinking about the look on Lila's face when she realized what she'd lost. Not just the money, though that was certainly part of it, but the knowledge that she'd destroyed something real, for something that was never going to last. My phone was ringing constantly. Reporters, investors, colleagues who'd heard about the morning's drama. I ignored them all and drove to my workshop, where my team was waiting with champagne and congratulations. "Did you really just destroy Victor Harlan in front of 200 people?" Jenny asked, grinning. "He destroyed himself. I just provided some context." But my mind was already moving to the next phase. Victor's public humiliation was satisfying, but it wasn't enough. He'd tried to steal my life's work. He'd corrupted my wife and turned her into a tool against me. I wasn't done with him yet. That evening, Polly called with an update. "Mac, it's a disaster. Victor's investors are pulling out. The SEC is opening an investigation, and 3 different law firms are preparing patent infringement suits. The guy's finished." "What about Lila?" "Divorce papers are ready to file. Given what we can prove about the adultery and the corporate espionage, she'll be lucky to get bus fare out of this marriage. File them Monday morning." "Lila's Monday morning. You sure about this? Once we pull this trigger, there's no going back." About Lila crying in the hotel lobby. about 12 years of marriage, about the woman I'd thought I'd known. I'm sure. But even as I said it, I knew the real confrontation was still coming. Victor and Lila weren't going to just disappear quietly. They'd fight back, try to salvage something from the wreckage of their plans. I was ready for them. The divorce papers were served Monday morning at 8:15, just as Lila was leaving for work. I watched from my office window as the process server approached her car, saw her face change as she realized what was happening. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Mac, what the heck is this? Legal documents. I thought you'd recognize them, being a lawyer and all. That says you're seeking full dissolution of marital assets, claiming adultery and corporate espionage. You can't be serious. Dead serious. You might want to read the supporting documentation. Polly was very thorough. Then, Mac, we need to talk. No, we don't. We need to let our lawyers talk. Mine's very good at his job. I hung up and went back to work. The medtech deal had made me wealthy beyond anything I'd ever imagined, but it had also created new responsibilities. Licensing agreements, manufacturing partnerships, FDA approvals, the business side of innovation that I'd always left to other people. Jenny knocked on my office door around 10. Mac, there's someone here to see you. Says he's a reporter from TechCrunch. The reporter was young, maybe 25, with the kind of eager intensity that came from smelling a big story. Mr. McCarthy, I'm doing a piece on Friday's incident at the Harlan presentation. Can you comment on your allegations of corporate espionage? Everything I said Friday is documented and verifiable. Mr. Harlan obtained proprietary information about my patents through illegal means. The evidence speaks for itself. Sources close to Harlan Biotech suggest that you're a disgruntled competitor trying to damage their reputation with false accusations. Melting. What sources would those be? I can't reveal. Let me save you some time. I handed him a folder. Those are copies of emails between Victor Harlan and my wife, documenting their affair and their plans to steal my technology. Those are recorded conversations between Harlan and my employees, attempting to recruit them with offers contingent on bringing proprietary information. And those are patent filings, showing that I've owned the intellectual property to this technology for 14 months. Premiership. The reporter's eyes widened as he flipped through the documents. This is comprehensive. Shield. I'm an engineer. I document everything. GMT. The story ran online that afternoon with the headline, Tech Mogul's Empire Built on Stolen Patents. By evening, it had been picked up by the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and CNN. Victor's face was all over the news, looking haggard and defensive as he denied the allegations. But the damage was done. His investors had fled, his board of directors was in revolt, and the SEC investigation was expanding daily. Tuesday morning brought a different kind of visitor. Lila arrived at the workshop with her lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Patricia Vance, who specialized in high-asset divorces. Mr. McCarthy, Vance said, my client is prepared to discuss a reasonable settlement. I'm not. Windshield. You can't seriously expect to dissolve a 12-year marriage with no asset division whatsoever. Relinquith. I can when one spouse commits adultery and corporate espionage. I gestured to the conference room. But please, let's discuss it properly. We sat around the table like civilized people, but the tension was thick enough to cut. Lila looked exhausted, her usual polished appearance replaced by dark circles and nervous energy. Mac, she said, I know I made mistakes, but 12 years has to count for something. It does count for something. It counts as 12 years of my life wasted on someone who was willing to destroy me for a man she'd known 6 months. Vance tried to take control. Mr. McCarthy, Massachusetts law provides for equitable distribution of marital assets. Your patent income is subject to division, regardless of the circumstances of the divorce. Actually, it's not. Paulie had arrived, carrying his own stack of legal documents. The patents in question were developed using Mr. McCarthy's separate property, equipment and facilities he owned before the marriage. More importantly, Mrs. McCarthy's actions constitute marital misconduct that invalidates any claim to those assets. That's ridiculous. You can't prove, Michelle. I can prove everything. Polly spread out photographs, email printouts, financial records. Mrs. McCarthy provided confidential business information to Victor Harlan with the express purpose of damaging her husband's company. She sabotaged business relationships, leaked proprietary information, and conspired to steal intellectual property. In legal terms, she committed economic espionage against her own husband. Lila was staring at the evidence with growing horror. Where did you get all this? Your emails, your phone records, your boyfriend's business communications. Did you really think we wouldn't investigate? The settlement conference lasted 3 hours and accomplished nothing. Vance made increasingly desperate offers. 50% of assets, 30%, 20%, anything to salvage something for her client. But Polly was immovable. Mrs. McCarthy gets nothing, he said finally. No alimony, no asset division, no settlement. She's lucky we're not pressing criminal charges. After they left, I sat in my office feeling strangely empty. The revenge I'd planned was working perfectly. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like the end of something that had once been important to me. Wednesday brought news that Victor's company was filing for bankruptcy. The patent infringement suits, the SEC investigation, and the investor exodus had destroyed him completely. According to the business journals, he was looking at personal bankruptcy as well. Thursday, Lila called me directly. Mac, please, I'm losing everything. The law firm fired me. I can't make the mortgage payments, and Patricia says I might face criminal charges. I'm begging you. You should have thought about consequences before you decided to destroy my life. I was wrong. I was stupid and selfish and wrong. But please, don't let them prosecute me. I'll disappear. I'll move across the country. I'll never bother you again. Just please, don't let them send me to prison. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Lila, you didn't just cheat on me. You tried to steal the most important work of my life. You turned my own success into a tool against me. You made me doubt myself, doubt my abilities, doubt everything I'd worked for. Why should I show you mercy you never showed me? Because you're a better person than I am. Occasionally, maybe I was. I'm not sure I am anymore. Friday morning, exactly 1 week after Victor's disastrous presentation, I got a call from Murphy, the private investigator. Mac, thought you'd want to know. Victor Harlan checked himself into a psychiatric facility last night. Apparently, he had some kind of breakdown, and your wife's been staying at a motel out by the highway. Looks like she's getting ready to run. Let her run. But even as I said it, I knew I wasn't done. There was one more thing I needed to do. One final confrontation that would close this chapter of my life forever. Saturday evening, I drove to the motel where Lila was staying. It was a sad place. The kind of roadside inn where people went when they'd run out of better options. Her BMW looked out of place in the parking lot full of pickup trucks and economy cars. I found her in room 237, packing clothes into a suitcase. She looked up when I knocked, and for a moment, hope flickered in her eyes. Mac, are you here to... I'm say goodbye. The hope died. Oh, Lila, I want you to understand something. This isn't about the money. It's not even about Victor. It's about the fact that you looked at 12 years of marriage and decided it was worth sacrificing for 6 months of excitement. Do you? Do you really? Because I don't think you understand what you destroyed. I loved you. I trusted you completely. I shared everything with you. My dreams, my failures, my hopes for the future. And you used all of that against me. She was crying again, but quietly this time. I know, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give me back the months I spent wondering if I really was the failure you said I was. Sorry doesn't undo the damage you did to my relationships with clients and colleagues. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I just wanted to look at you one more time and make sure I felt nothing. And do you? Feel nothing? I studied her face, looking for any trace of the woman I'd married. She was still beautiful, still intelligent, still capable of the charm that had attracted me in the first place. But she was also a stranger. "Yeah," I said finally. "I feel nothing." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Lila, the criminal charges. I'm not going to pursue them. Not because you deserve mercy, but because I'm done letting you control any part of my life. Disappear if you want to. Stay and try to rebuild if you want to. I don't care anymore." "Mac, wait!" But I was already walking away, back to my truck, back to my life. Behind me, I heard her door close with a soft click. 2 months later, I was in my new office, a gleaming space in the biotech district downtown, with a view of the harbor and room for 50 employees. McCarthy Engineering Solutions was expanding rapidly, with contracts from hospitals worldwide and a development pipeline that would keep us busy for the next decade. Jenny knocked on my door. "Mac, there's someone here to see you. Says he's from the patent office." The visitor was a middle-aged bureaucrat with good news. My latest patent application had been approved in record time. Revolutionary technology for early cancer detection, based on the same principles that had made the cardiac sensor so successful. "Congratulations, Mr. McCarthy. This could be even bigger than your last breakthrough." After he left, I stood at my office window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, Lila was starting over, probably in another state, probably under a different name. Victor was still in this psychiatric facility, according to the last report I'd received. And I was here, successful beyond my wildest dreams, surrounded by people who respected my work and believed in what we were building together. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Saw the news about your new patent. Congratulations. You deserve all the success in the world. L. Miss." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. I had work to do, problems to solve, technology to develop that would save lives and change the world. The past was behind me, and the future was full of possibilities I was only beginning to imagine. The revenge was complete, but more importantly, so was my transformation. I was no longer the trusting fool who'd let his wife and her lover nearly destroy everything he'd worked for. I was someone harder, smarter, more careful about who I trusted. I was someone who'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's succeeding so completely that they become irrelevant.